Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 197. In this episode, you're going to hear from Evelina Weary. Evelina is a Los Angeles-based financial advisor and director at Northwestern Mutual. As a former advertising professional, she was sick of making brands and influencers money and wanted to make everyday people money. So now she works mostly with women all over the country. In this episode, you're going to hear Evelina and I talk about stocks and bonds and what's the difference, also what a financial advisor does, and how to know if you should accept a financial advisor that is fee-based or if they're commission-based. And then Evelina is also dyslexic, and so how she deals with that when it comes to numbers, being that she's in the financial industry. So before we get to the episode, I've got to tell you, I know you hear my dog coughing in the background, and I've mentioned this probably in one episode before, but he has terminal cancer and doesn't have that long to live, so I don't have the heart to kick him out of the room. I just want him to be around me while he can. So yes, you might hear the little coughing, mostly while I'm speaking to you pre-episode, because he wasn't in the room when I recorded this episode. So before we get to hearing from Evelina, I've got to tell you, I am super excited. From Broke to Badass, my new book is absolutely for pre-sale on Amazon. And for me, it is a big deal. I have always wanted to be an author since I was a little kid. I don't know if I've shared this on here, but as a kid, I wanted to be in young authors so bad. And actually, I was in young authors. And I had wrote a book, maybe two. But the one that comes to mind is The Boy Who Had Too Many Horses. And it was like, just like a bound book, cheaply bound, but I felt so cool that I had written a book. And it really has been a dream ever since then. So now that it has finally come to fruition, that I'm super excited. So like that goes to show you the power of parents, like inspiring dreams in their kids in their younger years. Like I was probably 10 years old. That's just a guess. But 10 years old, so yeah, all the way now in my 40s, I'm like, ooh, I want to be an author. I mean, I've wanted to be for years now, but I'm just saying, like, it stuck with me. So parents, keep inspiring those dreams in your kids and let them follow the things that they love. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but really, it is a huge impact because it could be something small in childhood and it carries on for how many years of their life. So absolutely, you can go on to Amazon right now. The ebook is the only thing that's on pre-sale. Hopefully in the next couple days, the paperback and the hardback book will be on pre-sale as well. So yeah, check it out. All right, with that, let's get to the episode. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I am so glad you're here. Today's guest is Evelina Weary. Evelina, thank you so much for being here. Excited to have you on the show.
Oh no, thank you so much. Excited to be here.
So before we go any further, I've got to ask you, do you consider yourself ordinary or badass?
Say badass, especially for this show.
So have you always felt that way?
No, I would say building up my confidence over the years and decades is something I'm just really trying to hone in on. I used to kind of be more shy and quiet growing up, and then kind of really came in my own kind of honestly like during my 20s, so later in life. And now I'm a huge advocate on self and personal development. I recently hired a life coach, and always just trying to really improve myself. And now I'm kind of stepping in and being comfortable with actually vocalizing, no, I am a badass. And that's where I also help to try to get my clients to achieve as well.
So good. So how long have you had this life coach, and has it helped you make any transformations?
Oh, yes. I have had this life coach for now coming up on 2 years, and she has been the cornerstone of my transformation. She's helped me step into, let's say, more of the corporate 9 to 5 to being a complete entrepreneur. She has helped me trust myself, find my voice. She's also helped me also add more joy kind of back in my life, and just not always work, but just really just enjoy more of that work-life balance as I have my business. So been a huge help.
Yes, I'm such a believer in mentors or hiring coaches, because we don't have all the answers ourselves. So sometimes to get to the next level of badassery, you need somebody else to help you get there. So I love that.
Absolutely. Having someone in your corner.
Yes. So can you take a second and tell us about yourself?
Sure thing. Well, my name is Evelina Weary. I am a Los Angeles-based financial advisor. Most of my clients who I work with are women. I come actually from nearly a decade of working in the advertising industry. And after a decade, I was kind of sick of making brands and influencers a ton of money, and just really wanted to make everyday people money. And I grew up kind of in a divorced to household environment. My dad is a financial advisor, and my mom took more of a stay-at-home route. And so I saw kind of growing up how each household and levels of financial literacy either helped or hindered each environment. And so by the time I got to college, I knew I wanted to really help particularly women understand their financial resources, just to give them more options of what they want to do in life. And so I did step into advertising for a bit, then kind of pivoted to finance a couple of years ago. And now I'll definitely retire in the financial world. I absolutely love helping people in this way. And outside of really running my business, I used to be a Zumba instructor, so love fitness and all of that front. And I also recently got married to my husband, who's based in Brazil. So also a lot of time going back from LA and Brazil as well.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So can you take us back to that time when you were in advertising and you had been there for 12 years, correct?
For almost 10 years.
Okay, almost 10 years. So you've been there for almost 10 years. What did it look like? How are you feeling when you were in that moment? And then how did you make the decision to move out of that?
Great question. So I would say I kind of actually stemmed back into college. I majored in PR, thinking I was going to be Miss Media the rest of my life. I did grow up in LA, so the entertainment capital of the world, being in media was a very huge influence. And I was one of those crazy ambitious students. I had 5 internships before the time I graduated, and there were the type of internships where it's you get coffee and make copies, and it wasn't really a taste of the real world. By the time I actually got to the LA market, media market, upon graduation, I knew within 2 weeks I didn't want to do it. I kind of dabbled around in agency life, mobile advertising, influencer marketing, and kind of just working from the ground up. And kind of knew before I got my first paycheck, within that first 2 weeks, first month, that it just really wasn't for me. I wanted more of a client facing role. I knew I was kind of wanted to help people. And at the end of the day, I didn't care if, I don't know, Doritos got more impressions because of the campaign I ran. And so I've kind of going back to the moment where it was I definitely kind of need to make a change. That moment was actually March of 2020, and pandemic aside, I actually ended up quitting my comfy corporate media job And I actually had like another sales job lined up because I wanted to move more into sales and service and client facing. Of course, that sales role got dissolved with COVID. In fact, I remember them giving me a ring on my last day of my corporate media job, and they're like, hey, we're going to push back your start date to the end of the pandemic. And I was like, I'm going to be unemployed on Monday. And on a Monday, divine timing, I actually got a call from the job and company that I'm currently at, Northwestern Mutual, asking if I was looking for a position and if I would consider finance. And so my first day of unemployment, I actually then decided it was time to kind of pivot and do a 180. It was my time to like really leave advertising, and now I haven't really looked back.
Man, I love how it just kind of like fell into place. And if you hadn't have taken that first leap to find a new job, like
Yeah.
you might have left, you might have just stayed there or for years and years without doing something that you really felt passionate about.
No, yeah, totally. It's just everything kind of fell in place all in that month. And I mean, it was just such a March of 2020 for everyone was just such a wild time. But I think putting out there in the universe that's like, no, I'm ready for my next thing. And then the next thing literally fell in my lap. It was beautiful.
So what was going on like in your body or in your head before you left? Like before you took the leap, what was going on internally?
Oh, good question. I definitely know a lot of fear, but just like a feeling of just knowing like now is the right time. And so even when I got the call of we're going to push back the start date until the end of the pandemic, I still didn't go back to the higher ups to like either try to keep my job or look for another department. I was just like, nope, I'm still, whatever's going to happen is like meant to be. And so just kind of like knowing at your core, the voice with that like speaks to you when you're like silent, staying still, of like, this is the right move, like things will like work out, and just kind of like focusing on that.
So I know that you told me before that you have dyslexia and got into finances. Can you
I sure do. So I both had dyslexia and synesthesia. The way I experience dyslexia is, so I do have the typical, I flip numbers and flip letters, and sometimes when I'm reading, I can't tell if something's, let's say, bolded or not bolded. That is something of its own. And then on the flip side, I have also synesthesia, which happens when two senses that are not normally connected are connected. The way I experience it is when I'm visually looking at letters and numbers, I process them as like colors. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have very specific colors in my mind, and it's been that way for my entire life. Same thing with letters. Some people can see colors when they listen to music. Some people can taste sounds. It's very different from, I guess, person to person who has synesthesia. But with going from into finance, which is a very colorful experience, has actually been a pretty not as hard of a transition as I thought. It would trip me up more when I was in media and I was doing a lot of more Excel and more budgets on that on that side in-house, and particularly with like proofreading, where I would see a lot of trouble with dyslexia. But with finance, a lot of our systems kind of do that math and work for you. Plus we have a lot of like in-house help, like the analysts that do more of that. As a financial advisor, I'm usually helping navigate various conversations with married couples, families, business owners, individuals. And I would say it's more of a speaking role than actually with numbers. But yeah, people always say, it's like, oh, you're the dyslexic financial advisor. And it's like, yep, and it's still working to today.
Yes. No, I love that. And I'm a financial coach, and part of what I teach is a color-coded budget. But it's focusing on colors.
So perfect.
Yes, instead of focusing on numbers, because I just don't think the numbers are for everybody,
Yeah.
So one thing that came to mind when you were talking about that is imposter syndrome. Like feeling like you're not enough, feeling like it's going to be too hard, or somebody is more capable than you are. did you ever feel that because you were dyslexic when it came to either the financials or when you were in media? And if so, how did you move past that?
Yeah, I would say I've always had to work harder to kind of compensate for it. I actually had a later in life diagnosis with dyslexia. Like I was 28. And so, but I knew this is even since when like growing up, I did have to study more. I did have to, take longer for tests, and I would just do it. I would just like, if it took me 5 hours and it took everyone else 2 hours for a homework assignment, I just knew I needed to allot that time. And so I kind of brought that work ethic when I did pivot from finance, because there was a transition period. I mean, with jargon, the types of people, going from media to finance, completely different world. I didn't even know the difference between a stock or a bond when I started this career. But I was one of the first people, and also women, to knock out all my investment exams, insurance exams within the first 4 months of the role. Within under 2 years, I was also promoted. And so it was just like, I knew what I needed to get done. And especially when you kind of have curveballs, you really learn how you study and what works well like for you. And this is really tapping into that to make sure that it happens.
Yes, no, I can absolutely relate to that, because like in school, I struggled in school, or I might get good grades, but it's like kind of like you said, like behind the scenes, I'm studying for 5 hours or studying way more than anybody else is. But I do think that ends up helping you in your adult years, because you move past just like the simple way of doing things, or you're willing to push past some of the hard stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what is something that your clients struggle with? And then what is the advice that you would give them?
Okay, yeah, good question. I would say definitely there varies case by case, but for a lot of people, particularly women, sometimes it's like where to start, and making sure that the information is, let's say, communicated in a more digestible way. Because I also talk with a lot of women where they don't know the difference between a stock or a bond, but they want to, like, let's say, learn more about the market, or maybe like they have absolutely no interest and just kind of want someone to take off their plate. But just kind of like knowing the breadth and depth of resources that are actually out there, and like how to actually start. But like they don't want to work with like another old white guy. And so yeah, just we really go through like a customized roadmap, just to see like where they want to go and what it actually takes to get there. Like, here's what you need to save or invest every single month to making sure that these goals happen, and that you're also protected every step of the way. But it's usually just like, once we've got that game plan of like, here's how you start and this is how you can continue. That's been really helpful with clients.
Can you share with us the difference between a stock and a bond?
Sure thing. So the stock is where you're profiting on or capitalizing on the profit of the company. So you're buying, let's say, Apple stock, tech stock. Apple or Tesla does well, you make money. Apple and Tesla do not do well. Let's say they go through a PR scandal, and then you lose money. But it's basically on how well like a company or brand is actually doing, also known as like an equity. And then for a bond, you're actually capitalizing on the debt of a company or the government. So kind of thinking the same way credit card companies make money off of you with those interest rates, same thing with bonds. You're basically buying that debt and getting paid back with interest from that government or a brand.
So for somebody that's out there that's brand new, they want to get into stocks and bonds, what would you say to them?
Yeah, good question. So I would say we're kind of looking, we do a financial planning in a very holistic nature. And so kind of looking of, why do you want to invest? What's this money for? Are those other kind of ducks in the row in place? And so, building out that emergency fund, are we paying off our credit card bill every month? Making sure all those like protective pieces or insurances are in place as well. And then anything over those like, let's say spillover dollars, we're then looking at investing both inside and outside of the market. There's various ways that you can like grow your money, but some people, we do kind of like a fun personality quiz to see like how aggressive or not aggressive you actually like want to be. Because for certain, let's say, assets, they're not doing well right now, especially with everything going on in the world. Maybe we want to have it in other types of areas where it's doing a little bit better as we're writing out, certain things in the economy. But generally speaking, as we're getting your financial house in order, anything kind of like extra, we're helping you get that extra interest.
So I think there can be a lot of intimidation with hiring a financial expert, and to be like, how do I know they're not going to jip me, or it's not just going to be throwing my money down the drain, that kind of thing.
Totally.
What would you say, or what tips would you have for that person in looking for a financial advisor?
So definitely like looking and doing some research, and then also asking any sort of potential financial advisors you may want to work with, if they're a fiduciary. So being a fiduciary, they're legally obligated to act in your best interest. Any sort of certified financial planner would be. We partner with certified financial planners here all over the nation in every single state, but just by having that designation, they do legally have to act in your best interest. And also there's sites where you can see what license they have. Some also financial advisors work with very specific markets. I have advisors who work with divorced women only. I have also advisors who only work with female entrepreneurs. And so all that's also important. It's like, do you like the financial advisor? Do they make sense for you for where you want to go with your financial goals? But I'd say, yeah, kind of the key one, ask if they're a fiduciary, because then they're putting your plan before their interest, and then doing some research on their licenses.
Something that I have heard is to find somebody who has like the heart of a teacher, who's willing to answer your questions. So maybe just sit down with them at first and have a conversation, or via Zoom, have a conversation and ask them questions. Is there a question or two that you think is important to ask a financial advisor when first meeting with them?
Oh, that is a good question. So yeah, any sort of financial advisor, they would, you can get on like a discovery call. This could be anywhere from like 15 minutes to an hour, or it's more of like that first date coffee chat, just to really kind of understand them and their personality. But some of the questions that I've liked being asked when they're kind of like shopping around for financial advisors is like what's your planning style, how would we work together, how would you be putting together a plan. But I personally love being asked like, what's your planning style, because one, I can show them like how we do planning, and also in terms of like how we would meet. Some clients want to meet once or twice per year. Some clients want to meet a little bit more. And so kind of elaborating on like how you actually like work with clients, that really kind of opens up the door.
So earlier you mentioned like some people come to you because they would like to work with a female.
Yeah.
They want something different, or something that matches who they are. Is investing and finances, is that different for men and women?
Oh, yes. I would say women are actually much better investors. But yeah, it can very different for both groups of people. I would say, yeah, for women, they can be a lot more like careful, and so they will invest for more of like long-term growth. And so we're just investing each month or each year to just really increase that over time. I've seen more, let's say, gambling tactics with like men, or they want to do the new hot thing and then like get out at a certain time, which is not always good for any sort of like long-term growth. And also women tend to be like, especially the family, like more like family oriented. So we're doing this for, let's say, my kids' college fund or the family's second home. It's more of like a communal, let's say, goal asset, or sometimes with men, not always, but it may just be for either for them or for a very specific goal.
So I know when it comes to stocks and bonds, it can be easy to like want to pull out when the market is bad. What would you say to somebody who maybe is thinking of that during the pandemic even?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, March of 2020, we saw that. It was like one of 5 people like pulled out of the market just because it like tanked. And then the market did really well for kind of a lot of the pandemic, like throughout lockdown. And so if you kind of miss that upswing, a lot of people really saw the portfolio heavily hit. But with being a financial advisor, I would say you're just as much as let's say the advisor or the mathematician, and then you're also like the financial therapist. Sometimes the hardest part is actually not managing people's money, but managing people's behavior. And so, I mean, generally, like historically speaking, 1 out of every 4 years, we do expect the market to go down. So 3 out of the 4 years, my clients love me. 1 out of the 4 years, my clients do not like me. So of course, right now everyone's mad about their portfolio, but 8 months ago, it was like, oh my God, this is like amazing. You're being magical with money. So there's definitely the art and the science of just navigating people with that conversation. Obviously, there's a lot of, stress and emotion around money, especially for some of these like bigger goals that they have for themselves and for their family. But just kind of like, bringing it back down of like why we're investing, why our money's doing there, and just know that there's always options. Like if you don't want to be in a volatile, position on anything, like you do have the option of having another bucket of money that's a little bit more, safe or in a different arena to just grow your wealth there.
And what is the benefit of sticking with it?
Benefit of sticking with it is because even with everything that's ever happened, Great Depression, 9/11, '08 recession, the longer you have your money in an asset, the better rate of return. And so even with, it could go down 40% 1 year, but the longer you hold on to any sort of asset, you do see that positive rate of return for the long run. So
do you ever have clients or people that are ticked off that they like withdrew their money and then it like skyrockets up?
Yep. I'm just like, I mean, it's a big fat like I told you so, but in the most nice and delicate and articulate way. But yeah, we do have people where like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, and okay, now we'll either listen to you or we'll start investing more wisely.
So I know sometimes when it comes to finances, it can be bad to stick your head in the sand or not necessarily pay attention to your numbers. How does that work when it comes to stocks and bonds? Is that a good thing so you're not so overreactive, or should you really be paying attention to it every month?
Oh, good question. So the way we help take kind of like emotion out of the market is through like dollar cost averaging. So just putting, let's say, the same amount into the market every single month. No one can really time the market, even like the greatest, Warren Buffett and all those greats in the world. Otherwise, everyone would like kind of follow their Twitter and do exactly what they say, but even they aren't timing the market. But if you're kind of just doing like a little bit, every single month, then that will help your overall like portfolio over time. So it's less of oh man, this is now down 30% this month, but it's not about what it's doing like for this month. It's what it's doing for the long haul. And then also kind of helping that or like hedging that, like maybe we're not having all of our money in the market, we're having our money in other certain assets outside of the market for when the market is being crazy, that you do have other options, because let's say it is March of 2020 and that was the month for timing in your personal life, professional life, where you needed to get a home. And your, let's say, house fund is down 40%, well, at least you had some other options. Here we love leveraging, let's say, like different types of life insurance, where you can help save on taxes, where it can complement let's say, a heavy investment portfolio and still grow your money.
So I'm trying to figure out how I want to phrase this. When it comes to any type of investing and hiring a financial advisor, I thought there was 2 different ways. One was you pay them by fee, and other one was a flat fee. Is that right? And
yeah.
Which do you recommend?
Oh, good question. I would say it's kind of based on your goals. So you can pay on more of, let's say, a commission base. One of the common ways is you basically pay, let's say, through any sort of insurance policy or investment account that you sign up for. Typically, if it's insurance, those fees are actually already banked into the monthly or annual premiums at no extra cost to you. On the flip side, for any sort of investment account, it's a percentage of the total amount of funds actually within that account. And so those are good for people, especially if you're like just starting out, you want to work with someone, but don't have the funds for like a per meeting or per plan. It's a really good way to, tap into the the research and the advice of a financial advisor as you're going out for that. And then for any sort of fee-based financial planning, like if you have a really comprehensive plan, you have a lot of goals, let's say you have both personal and business finances, you're a small business owner to kind of factor in, kind of getting some more hands on your financial plan would be better suited for a fee-based plan. Those typically can run about a couple $1,000s, so a little bit more of a higher price. But again, if you're like a small business owner and more hands on that, that's also a good route to go.
So do you help people with debt at all, or is it only people who are already out of debt?
Good question. So yes, that's one of our kind of like pillars that we help out in. So the way we structure any sort of financial plan is we're looking at protecting, optimizing, and then growing your money. Optimizing is really any sort of reducing your debt on your balance sheet. We've helped people refinance student loans. That's been really popular, especially with interest rates getting kicked back in. And so that they can reduce their monthly payments or like look into like forgiveness programs if they're eligible for. That's been really awesome. They need kind of a game plan to reduce any sort of credit card debt. We kind of look about how that happens. Maybe we're doing a balance transfer just to kind of bypass an interest rate for the first year, and so on and so forth. But we kind of looked at both high interest and then low interest debt. Low interest debt being really these like student loans or mortgage. And I would say in general, if it's kind of like less than 7%, that's kind of like more of like low interest debt, and usually doing minimum payments are better because anything beyond 7%, you could just make more money in like the market or other types of assets and actually continue to grow, which is kind of what I see sometimes with my female clients. They want to like blow through all their savings, just get rid of their student loans because they're like, I don't want debt, I don't want a mortgage, I'm just gonna like go through all my savings. But I'm just like, well, if you just stretch out a little bit and then actually make more money, you know, instead of paying off all of those like student loans, then you can actually have more money for more options for some of your goals. But anything sort of like high interest debt or over 7%, we're kind of tackling first just to get that off and to just free up some of those dollars.
And what are some of the transformations that you've seen people make?
Oh, yes, great question. I love seeing when like the light bulb goes up and we're like, oh my God, I got this and this was so helpful. I've seen big spenders become big savers. I've seen people, actually be able to apply and get that real estate in LA. I've seen people where they didn't have anything set up for like their kids, now like they do, but a lot of it's been more, it starts with that mental and behavioral shift, and then the financial shift happens. And so that's been the most beautiful transformation that I've seen, where all of a sudden it's like, because I mean, money is like energy. And so we're kind of also talking about like limiting beliefs. And we talk about how, I mean, certain childhood traumas or stories that we tell ourselves do play in terms of like our spending habits or saving habits. And so it's always cool to see once they kind of get beyond like that shift, and then the funds follow. But that's usually my favorite part.
Yes, I know, that was so mind-blowing to me because I first became a financial coach, and then I'm just about to be certified as a health coach as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but in both arenas, it's like the mindset piece is like the biggest part. It's so cool.
And it's like financial wellness is like such a real thing. Like we've never been more busy than the last like 2 years. I mean, a lot of people who wouldn't normally have sought out a financial advisor now have, just because they're taking their finances more seriously, just given everything that's been going on. But they usually come up like, oh, let's say like money is like really complicated or stressful, and then they leave like everything's now in place, they're relieved, like everything's in order. And that's also been just nice of just like they've got that box checked off. It's like, all right, now it's taken care of.
Nice. And then they probably have more confidence to do it on their own.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
So let's end with a tip for the woman who is in the arena fighting for the life that she wants.
Oh, I love that. Fighting for the life that she wants. I would say, really, yeah, just ask. There's, I would say, an abundance of resources out there. And so sometimes it's kind of like overwhelming with either like choice or decision fatigue, but just asking like, hey, I'm like, let's say like looking for a financial advisor, or looking for a health coach, I'm looking for this, whatever kind of transformation that you want, kind of just asking, because I've always been surprised of, the opportunities or people that people do know and have connected with me with. Like my life coach, for example, never would have asked, have come in contact with her unless I like asked. And so, yeah, I think, putting that energy out there, and the universe will reward you.
Love that. And Evelina, how can we connect with you?
Amazing. This is so lovely. Yes, you can connect with me. Instagram is probably the easiest, at Evelina Weary. I guess we could put the spelling my unique name in the show notes, but you can also connect with me there. Follow me. I also post a lot of financial content and tips. If you are interested in like a free discovery call, or you want your own free customized roadmap, we're happy to welcome and connect. I do host all my meetings via Zoom, or you can meet in person if you are local to LA. Just so you can see what resources are out there for you.
Thank you so much, Evelina. You've been a total badass, and I've enjoyed hearing your story.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
With that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass, and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.